Hey, what's going on? It's your boy Coach, and this is the ENLS series. There's a lot of reasons that most people want to lose weight, but one of the things on this program is we're going to take our time. We're in no rush. Tracking our body composition is something we're going to want to do. A lot of people like to use the scale, but there's a number of things we need to check and a number of other ways we can see how we're doing. Kind of posted some of this stuff on Instagram, and it's something we're going to get further into, let's say in a few weeks, and get a little more the terms and how our bodies are kind of made up. But for this week, we're just going to go through an overview. So most people, when they say they want to lose weight, I think they're kind of implying they want to lose just body fat, not overall mass. And that's something we can do on this program, and something we're trying to do is just pure fat. Now, you can just lose pure weight. There's a lot of ways, like I said, we'll cover in the future. In order to track our body composition, there's a few things you need to do, and I've posted a video about that as well too, and you can go check that out in my YouTube. I'll try and put a clip in here. If you want the results, just do the best you can with this. Try and be consistent and track it, because remember, data is going to be really important in the long run. You're going to see trends, you're going to see patterns, not just in like how we build food, but in how your body, let's say, in the direction it's going with whatever foods and macros and all that other stuff you bring in. So if we don't track this stuff, we may be thinking, hey, we haven't made any changes, or we aren't seeing the changes. Or when you look in the mirror every day, and I've done that, you don't tend to see results. But if you can go back and look at actual pictures and photographs and measurements, and that's really going to be helpful, and you'll see what I mean as you get deeper into this. When it comes to data collection, there's two variables we often talk about. They're called reliability and validity, and we're not going to really dive into that. But what's most important though is that whatever we're capturing, say in terms of our food, is accurate, and whatever means you're doing or whatever system you're starting to come up with, it's consistent. Now, one of the things about eating out that's going to be challenging is knowing the calories. And if you look at this menu, went out to eat, there was no calorie count. And I'm not saying it's bad to eat out. Just in the beginning, when you're getting started and trying to collect data, it's going to make it challenging to make sure that the data is accurate. And it's just kind of when you're building a baseline, it's going to make it difficult to know whether what you captured was correct or not. You can make a number of choices to make this maybe save you on calories in the long run, and we'll talk about that stuff in the future. But yeah, generally there's going to be a lot of calories when you eat out, and so you need to make sure to check that. And there's a number of tools we can use to gather what you had and track it. Now, if you are going to eat out, one tip I have is to go online, look at the menu in advance, just see what they have, some things that you may like but also are going to save you on some calories. So that's kind of one of the first things you can do, is just make sure to kind of be prepared for whatever comes your way. Look through the different caloric values, find things with higher in protein. That's kind of what I do. Now, you can go into your Fitness Pal once you're done. You can just try and find the meal, just look it up if you can. Sometimes it'll be there, sometimes it won't, but if it isn't, you can always manually add what you found on the menu. Like I said, you're doing the best you can, and this is why I don't like eating out, because you're just kind of guessing. So you can go in there and put in your proteins and your carbs and your fats if you want, is one way, or just put the overall calories, because macros, remember, are going to be useful for us in some senses, but the calories are what's going to be the overall most important. And you could do the same thing if you're making a meal at home and you're trying to figure out the app. You can just add the calories in based on whatever you added up for whatever, say, recipe or food you did. It doesn't matter. In the end, you just have to have an accurate count of the calories. So at one point in my career, I was a mechanic, and my mentor at the time told me when I got into it and saw expensive tools where he said, listen, if you want to be good at this, you have to invest in yourself. And this is the same thing. So in order to make, say, meals quicker, or let's say make them tastier, or do however you want to spin them, it's going to be really important to have some just necessary things that are going to get you by in the kitchen. And there's a number of different things we can use, and some ones that are, say, better than others. But overall, it's going to be a process to figure out what works best for you, what space you have, what is your environment like in the kitchen. You're going to have to make all of those determinations and just kind of do what you can to probably get started. And if you have a higher budget, you can go invest in some things right away, and it's going to make your life a lot easier. Cool thing about being in 2022 is there's a lot of really cool things out there that you can get. Just check the sales. Like at the end of the day, what are you going to get? What do you want to do? That's going to have to be up to you in terms of how you want to make your meals. What do you need to make your life easier? And if it makes you feel any better, I I was never a chef. I didn't have any training. I kind of started this at 32 years old. I didn't really know anything other than how to heat up meals from the freezer and make things like ramen. So really it's just going to take time in terms of learning your cooking style, you know, the way you like to make meals. And so one of the cool things we can do, especially as we get better, is just start to make a lot of food all at once, and it makes your life a lot easier in terms of compiling everything, saving time, budget. There's a lot of things that bulk cooking has an advantage in. So it's something that, you know, may take time to get good at, and something that you'll practice, and something that you'll get better with every week. If you've seen any of my videos on how I do meal prep and how I have trays and all those things, I have a unique style, I've named it, just because I'm pumping out a lot of food in a very short amount of time, and that's what keeps me successful. When I first started this, I kind of found this system by accident. I was trying to actually do a bulk. I was trying to make a bunch of food, say clean, and I have a picture from when I first started, what my own, that's one day of food right there, and it was a disaster trying to do that every single day. It was very time consuming, and it took me about 3 to 4 months to start figuring out some things that made it easier. And when it comes to your cooking, one thing that's going to be really important is that you enjoy doing it, because if you don't like it, then you're not going to stick with it. So here's a number of tips you can do, some things that I like to do. What's kind of really interesting, and probably my favorite thing, is as you get better at this and your meals are really good, you know, others might actually kind of like them, and that's kind of a good sign that you're going in the right direction. Most important is that you like them, but in the end, as you get better at this and make them flavorful and you see how easy this really can be, you're going to be kind of surprised. A number of these ingredients actually need to be cooked, and so therefore I'm going to do them whichever way is the fastest in my world. And with the kitchen tools I have, it's important to have things to speed up your cooking times. I'm going to use shortcuts always and make sure I minimize time and prep, ready to go as quickly as possible, and that way I'm just back to doing whatever I need to do. And obviously we're using that food scale. It's one of the most important tools in this whole thing. So like I said, we get the accuracy of the calories. It's something that I'm hoping you're more familiar with. It's pretty simple in terms of how to use it. Now, if you can budget an air fryer, it is absolute money and super helpful for reheating foods, making foods. It's super easy, super quick. Obviously you're going to need the basics like pots and pans and all those things, but really good knives are extremely helpful, especially when you're trying to go quick. This is a vegetable chopper, I guess. It's something we've had for years, got on sale or some infomercial, but cuts super fast. It saves me time, and there we go. Those are going to go in the air fryer, save me time from having to put them on a pan, get the oven going. And this little chopper can do vegetables, all sort of different things. So it's something that I use every week. Now, you've probably seen these trays, and it's something that keeps my meals to where I can just get them and eat them, and it's super easy to store in the fridge. So if you go to somewhere like Amazon or going to Walmart, I think they have them for sale. They're not too expensive. I don't throw them away. I just rewash them and reuse them, and I've been doing that for a number of years. It saves me a lot of cost in the long run. As I go through all my recipes and things you can check out, you're going to see the number of different kitchen tools I have. Having this big pan is extremely helpful when you're making a lot of, say, servings, or you're cooking in bulk. You're going to want to invest in some of the larger, say, storage containers, different cooking utensils. It's going to be really helpful. Third part of this is the preparation side. So you have your shopping, your cooking, which you're probably learning. Thing we're going to get into next week is how to create meals, create dishes, how to make things that are fast and easy and things that you like. A number of the different tricks when you're doing meal prep. Meal prep in general is something that's going to help you be really successful. It's going to make sure you're ahead of the curve and that you already have things in place for the week. All right, and I appreciate your patience in this. This is a lot of information, and if you're still there with me, this is some of the things you can do for this week and some things you can focus on. Most importantly is that body composition, so make sure to go check out that video. Make sure you start doing that, because without pictures or measurements or any of those things, it's going to be really difficult to track which way you're going when you start figuring out the calories you're having per week. And you can always go check out some of my other videos if you want to get started with some bulk meals and you're more comfortable in the kitchen. That would work as well. Just make sure you start developing a system that, like I said, is becoming consistent, something you can integrate fairly easy. And if it's not working or there's time blocks that are just kind of inconvenient, then change them. Find ways to make this happen. Find ways to get your shopping done. Make sure you're cooking. You have to do this if you want to stay successful, at least to get started. Unfortunately, I was not able to get someone to come speak on the channel this week, but I'm going to go through a topic and one of the questions from my own point of view, just to maybe it might help somebody out there. If you're interested in being on this, if you'd like to speak, if you have some words of wisdom for those out there, I'd love to have you on. So just get a hold of me, contact me, and we'll figure out a way to get that done. There's two very important things that I would go back and tell myself, and it's specific to injury prevention and recovery. And the reason being because those are the two things that can not only help you train better, but keep you in the gym. Just go through some of the things I use because there's actually a lot more, but also we're kind of limited on time. Invested a lot in things like, braces and bands, sleeves and things that are supposed to help with blood flow. Like a back brace kind of tends to help. And a K-tape, you probably see me wearing it. A number of different ice packs. Epsom salt, those are really good for when it comes to, recovering the body. These are Voodoo bands, and there's a number of ways you can use those, and you can go to Voodoo and check them out. They're just cups that you can take with you. They don't work as well as the ones that I have. These ones, this is a full kit. It's obviously hard to travel with this. I also have this is a TENS machine, and it's got the little pads. There's certain oils that help with healing, or, sometimes it's just an ibuprofen or an aspirin. There's a number of tools like to loosen the muscles up. These are various rollers you can use, and this is a really good one because to get into your back. I use a number of bands just to stretch out sometimes. I have a number of different balls I use just to release muscles and, unbind, say, joints and tendons. My favorite ones, this is just, actually, if you can see it, it's PVC, and I just wrapped it with some tape. Something that's often overlooked too is, and I used to be really cheap, is my investment in shoes. They got pretty hammered at the Samson, you can see, but just buy cheap shoes, and it had a big impact on, say, me getting hurt or hurting my knees or having knee pain or back pain. So sometimes it's just as simple as, hey, taking a break, playing the games, right? And doing something, just taking time off. That's something I'm really bad about. There's a lot of different things I use, and what's most important is that I've had to learn how to use all those tools, and it was in getting injury and doing stupid things or lifting too heavy or whatever. So when you're trying to focus in this area, it's something you can read about. You really got to be in tune with your body. And that's kind of what I've done over the years, is get a lot more in tune with when something doesn't feel right, or hey, maybe I need to back off a little bit. It's something that takes time. It's something that if you're new, start incorporating it, figure out certain things. You don't always have to just say static stretch. That's one good way, but there's so many different things that go into this, and things that I haven't even listed and that I use on a daily basis pretty much to make sure that my body feels its best. Because if you're just trying to push it and you're just trying to survive, sometimes that's when the injury can happen, or most likely to happen. And the older you get, the more I think it's important to focus on some of this stuff. So that's it for this one, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Peace.